BYU, Texas Tech, and then everybody else. These two schools have reset the expectation of NIL in the Big 12, and if you don't catch up, that's not good. This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech crossover.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech crossover. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. That's Chris Level, the consummate professional, the journalist from Lubbock, Texas, joining the show today. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. We will start BYU, Texas Tech, and everybody else. If you don't catch up, you're far behind. And schools like Iowa State, schools like Cincinnati that have not shown the NIL initiative are going to be seen as lesser in the modern era of college football, even for the Big 12. While we start there, we'll also get into this Ross Dellinger report that schools can not sue this new governing body in college football over NIL caps and regulations, and we're effectively taking the power out of the university themselves. That might be a bad idea. Then Texas Tech needs to win now. This is the most important football season in school history. Those are my words, not Chris's. We'll get his thoughts if you hit subscribe. We get to keep our job. Chris, you had a crossover with Jake Hatch of Locked On Cougars talking about the NIL situations at Texas Tech and BYU. It seems as though now there is a gap. Those two schools, everybody else. My first thing I want to get to, the gap itself, this puts pressure on Baylor, on UCF, on Houston to put up or shut up and garner the same NIL as a Texas Tech or BYU, or am I off base there?
Drake, I think it does, but this is assuming that it works, that what BYU and Texas Tech are doing, it equals production on the gridiron or on the hardwood, whatever. But I do think you're putting pressure from a recruiting standpoint. Now, granted, maybe the rules are about to change, but I'm saying right now you have really decided to compete with the big boys. You've got various voices from around the country that are bothered by what Texas Tech and BYU are doing, because these aren't our normal, traveling partners when it comes to who we're recruiting against and all the things. And I think that has been a positive. But I do think it puts pressure on, look, TCU spends money, Baylor spends money. I think Kansas has spent money. I just think that these two institutions are really spending a lot of it in two of the primary programs. And that's what's making a lot of the news, because some may pick one or the other to really invest in and get behind. But it's not lost on me that you're playing this NIL game, and Jamie Pollard, the athletic director at Iowa State, is saying, don't know if we can pay this revenue share bill in a couple of years. We're good right now, but we need help, people, which is what that was a cry for. So I think it absolutely applies some pressure. And is Texas Tech and BYU, are they willing to do this year in and year out if there were no rules? I don't know if I know the answer to that either.
Yeah, this is from Spence Checkits, who says 11 BYU donors are 9-figure donors. And with the oil money at Texas Tech, it's no surprise that the Red Raiders are also in a great spot with the Matador Club. You talk about pressure, and I know I mentioned the pressure it puts on a Baylor, on a Kansas, who is trying to invest. Does it put even more pressure on Texas Tech and BYU to win? And we'll get into that more in depth later, but it feels like the real pressure might be at the universities.
Yes, because I think what you're doing, okay, I can just speak about the situation here in Lubbock. This is motivated money. You're trying to play the long game here. And, we all know about the Flutie effect from back in the mid-'80s with Boston College, and they are playing the game. They're trying to think about it as in, yes, we want to win right now. We know that these two sports are the front porch of our university. So this is why you've got the school president, the chancellor, the regents, which Cody Campbell is one of, and whatnot, basically saying the better we do in these things, the more enrollment we get, the more, it's all connected, and they feel very strongly about that. It's not a 1-year scenario. They're trying to, because I think the way they view it is we better put our best foot forward right now and do this in the time frame, because I think they feel like there's shakeup coming. There's something on the horizon. They would like to be a part of it if there's a split. And I think that's kind of where they're coming at it from. So they feel like it's an investment into the city of Lubbock and to the university, the whole thing. But yeah, it puts pressure on you. Absolutely.
Kansas State, Oklahoma State. There are Big 12 schools that I don't think are that different from Texas Tech. Arizona, maybe Arizona State. And you'll mention often, they're in a great sports state like Texas. Lubbock's certainly in Texas, but it's not Dallas. It's not Houston. There aren't kids saying, I get to grow up and play at my hometown school. If you take all the kids from Houston and build a college football team, we're talking national title contender. In Lubbock, that's a bit different. I want to play at home. Dallas, from Dallas to Lubbock, you're not playing at home. You're going to Texas Tech. It's hard. It's hard at Texas Tech the same way it's hard in Manhattan, Kansas. Why not Oklahoma State? Why not Kansas State? Why was it Texas Tech that got the leg up on everybody else, and these other schools that are comparable have been left behind?
Liquid gold. I mean, you're in a spot where, in some ways, you're at a disadvantage geography wise. but right now in 2025, with the way that the rules are and based on the success of some other folks, you're benefiting on where you're located. And it's not that there's a variety of folks that have been wildly successful in the oil and gas. Cody gets the ink, and he deserves a lot of it. And he's been spearheaded. However, there's many folks that are involved in the oil and gas industry. I mean, the show Landman, okay, the Taylor Sheridan show on HBO Max or whatever, Paramount, whatever it is, they tapped into all the Texas Tech, the school, and all these donors and everything, and they wanted to get a real feel for that whole industry. But that's that dig baby dig, right? Drill baby drill, whatever. I mean, that's kind of why you're benefiting right now when it's an arms race. And you're able to make up some of the gap because some of your folks are motivated and they are well off and they're willing to help. Well, if you're an Iowa State fan, you're thinking, well, we're so far behind Texas Tech. What can we do? Just find oil in Ames. That's you just start digging somewhere around Ames and hope for the best at this point. Coming up, schools are no longer getting the same power that they maybe once had to just utilize the United States government and the law. This is Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech crossover. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Why is it brought to you by FanDuel? Because that's where I go to make some money. Because during the NBA playoffs, I'm not the biggest NBA guy, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing a basketball game. I know his points profit's probably going to go over, so I put dollars on that at FanDuel, and those dollars come back to me. Same game parlays, track performance trends. Fans have even more ways than ever to place wagers. How? You can track those players and then in-game make live bets, live prop bets, live same-game parlays. $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Go to FanDuel.com, place your $5 bet. If it wins, you get that $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. This Ross Dellinger report that comes out talks a lot about the House settlements going on right now and how there's the governor of Tennessee and legislatures in Tennessee who have said, hey, we've got your back. The United States government, we're going to help your student athletes and Sherman antitrust. And if they want to make money, they can make as much as they want. Then there's a new appointment alongside the NCAA of a second governing body for college sports, where this College Sports Commission can monitor NIL and set new rules. In the last week, we found out that conferences have gotten their heads together and decided, hey, what if we pass around this sheet of paper that when you sign it, you can no longer sue. And even if we are going against the United States government, against their wishes with NIL, against the Sherman antitrust or whatever it may be, you can't sue us or we'll kick you out of our conferences. Something about this just doesn't scream legal to me. And there's probably a lawyer or many of them that will tell you just that. I think the people that are trying to corral this whole thing, and I think the people that are trying to run college athletic, whoever that is, okay,
yeah.
So we have commission, we have commissioners, we have the NCAA, we've got media folks with all these different ideas. This is a document, and this is an idea and a theory that they really initially floated back in February, because they knew as soon as the House settlement was approved, there's going to be a lawyer or a team of them coming from all different directions saying, no, like, you can't do this. You can't tell us what is market value on an NIL deal or whatever they would be poking at. This is just never going to stop. And so I think that this is how are you bound to this if you sign it? I mean, there's a lot of discussion about Tennessee, with their state law, and I mean, would the SEC kick them out if they don't sign it? I don't know. That all seems far-fetched. I don't know how much a document like this is actually worth in a court system, and how, because that's right. You're just waiving the right to sue, but you can't. I don't know. This is. I get the theory. The idea of it is smart, because it's never going to stop, and somebody's trying to like throw up a stop sign and say, please let us just give us some rules and keep it this way for a bit. And the litigation part of this is going, no. I mean, you're not. If I own a restaurant and I want my stud point guard to come down to my restaurant and I want to pay him $150,000 to sign autographs, and this House settlement is saying that's way too much. This isn't. Well, no, it's my restaurant. I get to deem what it's worth. Whatever you want to describe. And this is kind of what Tennessee is basically saying. We don't want to play by your rules. We want to be able to go way above and beyond the cap if that's what Tennessee wants to do. Tennessee helped them write the bill, in the state government. So interesting times.
No doubt. My biggest question, we've in my mind, we have already crossed the bridge into athletes or employees. We were formerly murky, blurry. Now we're there, especially with this idea that schools themselves will pay their athletes this $20 million per year going forward, if all goes the way that many expect it to. With that in mind, what if Deloitte, who's actually in the thick of this, or KPMG, or the waste management service that's down the street from my house, decided, hey, we want to pay you $1 million to go pick up garbage cans or to be a CPA, but we can't. There's a governing body, there's a college sports commission, but we can't. I just don't see how that's possible.
I'm with you. It doesn't. That goes against everything that this country is about, really. Sure. I mean, and I just. Like, we have seen what market value is in recent weeks and months with the rules being what they were. And you're going to tell me you're going to put the toothpaste back in the tube and go, oh, it's a one-time deal, guys. Like, we're going to go back to bags of cash under the table when $50,000 is a ton of money that you hand somebody at a McDonald's on the corner. Hey, meet me there, man. I got you, man. We'll see you at Auburn in the fall, or whatever school we want to talk about. I don't buy it, and I think many people have questions about it. But I do understand that somebody is trying to get a hold of this thing and put some parameters in place so it somewhat levels it out, and we're just not swerving all over the road here. Easier said than done, though.
Certainly, and the College Sports Commission is set in place to make this clear, to make it smooth, to have a governing body that's focused almost solely on NIL, and they don't seem to be getting there. Now the question to me turns to the NCAA. The question starts with, how do you get away with paying someone less when an employer wants to pay them more? Now it's the NCAA. Here's a quote from Dellinger. The NCAA is an association of its member schools. The same challenges of potential monopoly power and antitrust issues that the NCAA currently faces could easily transfer to a new, similarly structured organization. So if you leave the NCAA, the government's still going to rule over the next governing body. You can't escape the United States government here. They're going to have a hand in this somehow now. But how useful, you work in an athletic department, how useful is the NCAA to the SEC right now?
I think no help at all. It's I mean, there's no teeth there. And one thing I wonder too, there's going to be some other things that happen in this scope. Like I think you're going to go from 2 transfer portal windows to 1. I think that will calm a bit, may even lower the dollar figures being thrown around and things like that. If you remove the December window. And you just so there's a few things that can be done structurally to kind of mitigate some of what people deem as a problem. But right now, I mean, because that's what Tennessee is basically. That's the bill is like, yeah, the NCAA, we're not playing by your rules anymore. Sorry, like, what are you going to do? The problem is you've got 20 plus different state laws, and it's not nobody can get a grasp on like, okay, what's legal, what's not. You're just trying to get, simpatico here. Although, again, as I said before, easier said than done. It's just really, really tricky. And what sucks is, Drake, is that we all love the games. We all love this, but I just feel like these days we're talking way too much about antitrust, lawyers, settlements. And it just, when is it going to stop? And that's what this is, an attempt to throw up the stop sign and say, can we just hit pause? Can we get a timeout, please? Can we just get back to what we all want, which is competition, all that? But again, I don't know if we're going to get there or not.
I want to go back to Crabtree catching the touchdown. I want to go back to the simple era,
Well, sure. I mean, that's what. All this is in place. You're trying to get advantages. You're trying to build state laws to try to compete in the fall or the spring or whatever it is. But, geez, man, it's just lawyers are the ones that are ultimately going to win here. Bottom line, billable hours, man. I'm telling you, retweet that, and that is who is winning.
20 years ago, just the catch, the upset, the Mike Leach, top 10. That's the beauty of college football that feels like it's slipping through our fingers because of the way that we're going. And like you said, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Coming up, Texas Tech, they're in win now mode, according to me, Locked On Big 12, Locked On Texas Tech crossover. Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. The Red Raiders are in win now mode under Joey McGuire. That is my quote, not yours. And the reason I think that, the overabundance of NIL money available right now to Texas Tech that has been utilized in football for this offseason, the way that Tech utilized the transfer portal to bring in blue chips, a top 5 recruiting class in the country, some would call it top 3, some would call it number 1 in America. This is a football team built to win. I would argue McGuire has had teams in his first handful of years that were built to win as well. Last year, the slip up against Washington State, the poor game against Baylor. You're looking at a Texas Tech schedule that, while it ended happily, it ended on a happier note in the regular season at the very least. It wasn't what you wanted. When are we finally going to get our feet up underneath us? Then this year, with the millions of dollars being pumped into the program, the transfer portal focus, it feels like, hey, if we're going to entrust a head coach with all of this money, all these resources, they better win. And it feels like there's never been a better time to do that.
Yeah, and I think Joey enjoys that pressure, likes it, wants to be at a place where there's some expectation. He's had a winning Big 12 record his first 3 years here. They were 1 win away from playing in the Big 12 title game last year. And that's what got everybody, I think, feeling like we are right there. That's where a lot of this motivation comes from, is that you were just on the lip of the cup. And you beat both the teams that obviously played for the title in Arizona State and Iowa State last year in the regular season. And I don't think Joey was out with a tin cup on the side of the road to these folks going, please donate to our cause. No, these folks willingly wanted to help. And then I think what happened is they saw how much production was in the portal, and it's like they saw some success they were having, and they just decided to keep going. Like with the DB, 5 DBs, 5 defensive linemen. I mean, maybe you thought at the onset you're going to bring in a couple at each position. No, let's keep going. And then when David Bailey hops in the spring, he's a no-brainer ad, guys. Go get him. Okay, let's do it. There is absolutely pressure. What does that look like to me? To me, I'm not saying you have to win the Big 12 or else, but if you didn't get to Arlington, this has been a big time failure. And I think Joey and every donor involved here would tell you the same. That's what it's built to do. If you get to Arlington, then you can take care of your business and make the next steps. But you got to get to Arlington first. Texas Tech's never made it there before. That's you got to check that list off first. I think it may be Pollyannish to think that any one of these Big 12 schools is really in line for an at-large berth in the playoffs. Okay, when we get right down to it, maybe. I mean, maybe so. But it's all about getting to Arlington and winning that game is really what this is about. But you got to get to Arlington first. I can't say if you were to get to Arlington and lose it and you win 10 games or something, I can't sit here and say that this is a miserable failure, regardless of how much money you did or didn't spend, because you've never done that before. You are pushing through. You are pushing your program forward. Some will have higher expectations, and Joey probably will. I just would have a hard time saying that's a failure when you've never even been able to sell a ticket to a Big 12 title game before featuring Texas Tech. I mean, that's the minimum. I have no problem saying that. And there is a lot of pressure here. There's no doubt, but that's the way everybody here wants it.
Yeah, the reason I use win now is because the money that's there, you've got to justify people spending that money. When I think about a year ago, when I was in college a couple years ago, my buddies every Sunday would put $100 a piece on the Cowboys. Why? Cowboys fans. We'd have, you go to FanDuel, you have now a $100 investment. They win the game. Cool. Dinner's free. Let's have some drinks and hang out. Last year, it got to the point where I just stopped putting $100 in the Cowboys. I'm just pissing money away by giving this $100 to the void every week.
Right.
And
I know where you're going here. Yeah.
That helps me get into the mindset of Joe Blow sitting in his suite, who's paid $5 million for Texas Tech to have an elite wide receiver core, an elite DB core. I'm spending a good chunk of my money that could go to anywhere. I probably was going to donate it somewhere. I'm going to give it to NIL. And to go 6-6, 7-5, not saying they will, but if that happens, then why do I want to spend that $5 million again? Is that the mindset of a donor?
I think it's a very fair point. I think the people that are heavily involved, because there's some parts of this that are certainly involved on a smaller scale, but the heavy lifters here would probably have a longer leash, if that makes sense, because I think, again, it goes back to trying to play the long game. This is you are. I've been asked, hey man, so they're pushing all the chips in the middle of the table. Yeah, well, if you crap out, it's not like you're not going to keep playing. You have to keep going. The pot is committed. Is a phrase that's been uttered to me on multiple occasions. Now, if the rules weren't to change, would they be willing to go as all in every single year for the next 2 to 4 years? I don't know about that, because again, if you weren't getting results, something would have to change. Coaching, the way we identify this talent, like are we spending the money on the wrong guys, all those things. But you're right, there's a shelf life here with people's generosity. I would certainly say that. That's why you've got to show them something. And I think getting to Arlington at the minimum is progressing and pushing through. And certainly anything past that it's now you're justifying the expense. Basketball too. I mean, you're going to have one of the top 10 or 12 basketball payrolls in the country as well if you're Texas Tech.
Is this the most talented that the Texas Tech roster has ever been in football?
In so many ways, probably. I don't know if you've got so
I think if you ask 24/7 on paper, they would say yes based on these. Right.
But you don't have a bona fide first round draft pick. You don't even have like a couple of So some would say like Arizona State, maybe with Levitt and Jordan Tyson. Those are a lot of first round thoughts there, and so that kind of trumps a lot of this conversation. Depth, talent, like from 1 to 60. Yeah. I mean, the beauty of what they did with their portal class, they've recruited really well here in high school. Yeah. And yet they brought in all these older guys and they didn't lose any of their high school guys. Almost none of them that they liked all stayed here. So you're getting the best of both worlds. So this isn't a 1 year clip where you just, we graduate a lot of it. And I would say 5 to 7 of the guys that they brought in from the portal will be here again next year. They've got multiple years of eligibility. So, but talented. I will say this: it's easily the most talented defensive line they've had in 20 years. That they could be scary good there, and they were terrible and extremely average last year. But it's all new, and they kept a lot of their redshirt type guys. That's the part that I may be most excited about. If they could have put any pressure on the quarterback last year, they're probably playing Arlington. Maybe could have gone further, but they could not. They could not come up with anything there. And so, but yeah, talented wise, I mean, it is from 1 to 60 depth wise, absolutely one of the most talented rosters they've ever had. Yeah.
And the transfer portal works in ways that folks don't always consider. They want that 4-star transfer to come in and be instant impact. But if DeQuan Finn's not good, and it means that Sawyer Robertson is, this is an opportunity for those high school recruits to step up and play big. Again, what really makes me feel for Texas Tech, Waco is different. You're an hour and a half from Dallas. If mom and dad and grandma want to see you play from Dallas, they can drive up on a Saturday pretty easily. Dallas to Lubbock, Houston to Lubbock, San Antonio to Lubbock. Some of these recruiting hotspots to Lubbock aren't the same. Hey, if I'm recruiting only Lubbock Coronado kids or only South Oak Cliff kids, we're going to have a very different college football team around here. So it's extremely impressive to see what Texas Tech has done in its geographic location with a smaller town compared to a Fort Worth, compared to a Houston, to build what it's built. Chris Level, where can more folks find your work?
Locked on Texas Tech, man. Every day, me and Casey Cowan been doing radio for a long time, and fortunate enough to be on this platform of ours, the Locked On family, for about 3 years now. I guess it has been, and so we love it. It's great, and get to work with folks like my man Drake here. And but don't pay too close attention to some of the squad shows. They can be a bit sketchy and whatnot. The Dose Grande squad, right? I think is that your phrase?
That's the phrase.
I'm kidding. We have fun. It's just part of it. I'm the old guy in the room that everybody gets annoyed with me.
Too much fun for the old guy. I was 21, standing outside a 300-person baseball stadium when Chris Level calls me and says, "Man, should I work for these Locked On people?"
I did call you. Yes,
gone okay since then.
Sure.
That's Chris Level of Locked On Texas Tech. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. A crossover with Texas Tech and Dose Grande.